you all realize it is not August, like I said in my email. Maggie let me know that I screwed that up. I was trying to zoom through this summer quickly, literally and quickly.
We are.
Carol, would you like to do the invocation, please?
Yes, thank you. Would you pray with me, please? Blessed are you, Lord, Mother, Father, God of creation. You feed the whole world with your goodness, your grace, your kindness, and your mercy. You nourish and sustain us and do good to all. Bless us this day. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Carol. Tom, you want to lead us?
Yeah, all right. We're going to do it differently. Everybody gets to hear the cacophony. Let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of
the
the
United States
States
of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation
Nation
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. I would like to know how they coordinate all the screens when you hear the choirs and everything going at once, because it certainly doesn't work here.
It's a different tool. There's actually one called Duo that does it. I have no idea what they used.
Well, okay. Anyway, thank you all, and thank you for coming. Good turnout today. Only guest we have is our speaker, John Meier, and John, we'll introduce you in a couple minutes. A couple of things. Dues notices went out this past week, and thank you all for those of you who've already paid. I understand about 30% of the club has already paid, which is great. Thank you very much. Please get your dues in as soon as possible. We've actually already paid Rotary International for this, our first 6 months bill, so we're catching up to that. If you've noticed on the dues this year, we are offering a credit card option. So if you want to do that, contact Carl. His email was in the note that Polly sent out to everybody. We will include the fee, which we get charged for that, which is 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. I think it's $6.30 or something like that, Carl? Something to that effect. Yeah, so right around an extra $6.30 if you want to go that route. So thank you all for paying, those of you who did. And I want to thank, we got a number of birthday checks this past week. As I mentioned last week, the birthday fund is a long-standing 102-year-old tradition of the Elmira Rotary Club, and all of those funds go to the charitable fund. And I want to thank Joy Perry, Naeem Parvez, Rob McKinnon, and Cindy Haig for all sending checks this week. Then thank you. Some of you added extra donations. Thank you very much. And remember, all of the funds that you send for the birthday fund, I'm sorry, the birthday checks go to the charitable fund. So thank you very much for that. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Tom to introduce our speaker today.
Well, this is John Meier, President and CEO of Meier Industries. And he posted on his Facebook page, I'm a Facebook stalker of John, about how they did, CPAC had a little tangible as part of the SpaceX. And I immediately reached out and thought it would be a great presentation for this. Other than that, I don't know much about John, and I lost the email he sent with his details. So I'm just going to turn it over to John from here.
All right, great. Well, thanks for having me, Tom, and everybody. So I just first want to say Jonathan Twining is here with me. He's our VP of marketing at Meier Industries, and Mary Zwerko, who's a college intern, is here in the office with me as well. And the two of them did all the work in putting this together. So I literally, this was a great exercise to speak to Rotary because we're so focused on each individual business unit. You never really had a document that covered all of what we do within all of our companies. So, but they're the ones who did all the work. So I want to give them all the credit for that. All right. And if it fails and breaks, I blame them too. So, just kidding. All right. So let's see. We got. Show a little video first.
Okay. There's no sound on this. When you share videos through Zoom, you usually have to click a little checkbox that allows the sound to share. So at least we're getting the video aspect of it.
Yeah, it's just music. All right, so can you all hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
All right, great. So basically, we're over on 1580 Lake Street, on the corner of Lake and Sullivan. We're in a 141,000 square foot building. We have 10 businesses with about 125 employees here. We're broken down into 2 companies into 4 groups. So we have kind of 10 business units, but we're kind of in 4 groups. Our motion control group, our machining group, and our rescue group, and our construction group. So I'll step through those a little bit later in the slideshow, but that just kind of gives you an overall perspective from maybe 5,000 feet, if you will, of what our company looks like. So one of the slides you saw earlier was our all in, all out. That's sort of our workforce engagement and development program. So we're really big on the culture, right? So what we do is we've developed a program that kind of addresses kind of workforce more proactively than reactively. So took a trip a few years ago out to a Gemba walk out in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I kind of got this epiphany. Martha and I went out there together and kind of realized that we really, from an employee retention and engagement perspective, we were sort of missing the boat. We needed to do a better job at that. And so we developed what we call is our all in, all out, AIAO. And as corny as it sounds, we went through the process of kind of defining what our values, attitudes, and beliefs were in kind of 3 or 4 words on attitudes, 3 or 4 words on beliefs and values. So that's important for what I'm about to tell you. We kind of look at the 2 sides of it. We look at the technical side of the all in, all out as kind of the learning and upskilling, cross training and certifying. And I guess I call that kind of like the brain, the bone, and the muscle, right? To use that analogy. We address the other second leg of the stool is the culture side of it, and it's, as I mentioned, the values, attitudes, beliefs, but it's kind of about listening and recognizing, celebrating, rewarding. And then the third leg of the stool is what I call the visibility or the eyeballs, right? So it's kind of like our strategy, and we involve 2/3 of our employees in our strategic planning. It's about our metrics. It's about providing kind of a clear, transparent career path for everyone throughout our business. Workforce engagement, right? In order to get it, you've got to upskill, cross-train, build skill, and develop people professionally. And that is a centerpiece. What we're really talking about is with our business is that we try to think about workforce development, our engagement, not as like a back office function, like an HR function, right? But more as a strategic operating principle, the way that we run our business. And so we're not reacting, we're being more proactive. And we do that through a variety of means. You know, I'm the owner of the program. But I co-lead it with our HR manager, and we have a 15-minute huddle every Monday at 1 o'clock with our team leaders, and our team leaders tell me how they're recognizing the people that work for them in their respective departments. So it would be our engineering manager, production manager, quality manager, project management, sales manager, CFO. The people that report to them, I want to know about the nature of the engagement that they have with them. So good behaviors that happen within our company tie back to our values, attitudes, and beliefs. For instance, Charlie, lathe operator on the floor. Charlie saved 17 seconds on one operation of one job. That equated to an $852 savings annually for our company, just on that one operation, on that one job. I get really excited. You know, as the owner of a business, I get really excited when I hear stories like that. And I wonder, are my managers talking to my people, our people, right? Are we patting them on the back? Are we giving them a high five? Are we taking them a lunch? What are we doing, right? Because those kinds of behaviors are fantastic. And so what this program does is it gives an incentive. Every week, my managers, my team leaders sort of tell me who they gave a chip to. And we have these little poker chips, and they have our logos on it. And when that good behavior happens, our manager passes that to the employee, and then specifically tells them what that does. Charlie, our values of commitment and our belief in problem solving is exactly why I'm giving this to you, because you were able to kind of optimize this job and drive some cycle time out of that part, right? So it's not, Charlie, you're a great guy, here's the chip, right? It's, Charlie, this chip represents the values, attitudes, and beliefs, specifically what those values, attitudes, and beliefs are, and how it ties back to their specific positive behavior. So this is how we believe we make the culture, we strengthen the culture, and I'm a strong proponent, architect of this within our business, and like I said, I own it. So, you know, I guess I wanted to start kind of right there with the skills side and the culture. Let me just step back 1 second and talk about the technical side, because I think that is important as well. We're in the skilled trades. It's an incredible place for young people to be. Our machinists are making $25, $30 an hour. They're skilled people, right? Lots of geometry in their head, a lot of problem solving. We want to create a machining program, right? A curriculum in this case that sort of goes from a stage 1 to a stage 10 machinist. So we went about, and I had a work team, and we spent 18 weeks on this, but we developed the machinist curriculum. And it turns out there's 393 requirements that we specifically identified in that machining curriculum from stage 1 to stage 10 before they even get to programming. And so then we created these stages and gates so that as they became more proficient and as they passed in each one of those stages and they punched their ticket and they spent a specific amount of time in each stage, they were rewarded, right? So they had as they were upskilled, their pay went up. And so they have a clear and transparent path about how to grow within our business. And I think that's really important from the technical side. So that's the rewarding side of it, right? The recognition is kind of what we do with our poker chips. And what that means is that, you know, after they get recognized and they get 2 or 3 poker chips or what have you, they'll get company gear, company hat, and sweatshirts, and people like that. So one is the culture and it's the recognition, right? And the other is kind of the technical, and we're rewarding them as they upskill and become better, stronger employees. And not everyone needs to be a stage 10 machinist, right? Some people want to go from a stage 3 to a stage 6 machinist, right? And we want to give them ability to get to where they want to go and where we want them to go. And that's kind of a two-way street for us. So in any event, I just kind of want to give you that kind of overview because it's a really important part of how we run our business here. One of our key business units is CPAC, and CPAC and Placid comprise our motion control group. We do a number of exciting things within CPAC. CPAC, we sort of specialize in friction brakes, mechanically engaged. We tooth clutch and tooth brake, those wrap spring clutches, permanent magnet brakes. Those are kind of like our core competency, but we're all about customization. So you'll see a few photo shots here. These are, ROV. We're in ROVs and UAVs and optionally piloted vehicles and drones and torpedoes and missiles and armored personnel carriers and commercial aerospace, medical robotics, surgical robotics, all kinds of flight critical components in commercial aerospace and defense, outer space, as Tom mentioned, SpaceX, which we'll get to in a second. So we're growing, and we're in the midst of having our best year ever here in 2020, which is very exciting, with deep into double-digit growth on the revenue side, again, for the third straight year. So these are some of the, an example of maybe what we do. We do everything from a clean sheet design to an interface change, right? And everything in between. So we're a very robust engineering department. We have 9 engineers here now, with a very strong quality management system. We're AS 9100 certified to the aerospace standard. So we have a robust quality department as well to support that. I think we have 43 or 44 employees now within our CPAC business unit. And as I said, it's a very strong and growing business right now. This will show you some of the applications from outer space to subsea. There's a lot of macro events that are helping us and various markets that we're playing in. Believe it or not, there's a big, in oil and gas and in energy, there's a big movement up front now with the BP spill and some of the environmental issues that have happened in the Gulf of Mexico. There's been a movement away from hydraulic actuation to electromechanical actuation. And because we're the electromechanical clutch and brake guys, we are pretty ideally situated, even albeit with some of our mature technologies, which are adapted and customized to these subsea valves and swim out robots and all kinds of really cool applications 10,000 feet below the sea level. I mean, there's this underground highway of pipes in the Gulf of Mexico and manifolds the size of this building, and there's all kinds of mechanical interfaces where we're really growing with all the names, the Halliburtons, the Schlumbergers, the Technips, and a lot of tier 2 customers as well that we work with directly through them. We are, as I said, we do all the machining and manufacturing. What you're looking at here is our assembly and test area, and inspection. We do, our QC lab. We inspect all parts, every 5th piece, and then at final, and we do first articles, gauge calibrations, all the things that a quality assurance department would be undertaking. We're a full CNC shop. We do 3rd and 4th axis machining, turning, milling, grinding, broaching. We got a tool room. It's all of what we do is done in-house, including assembly. We do outsource our outside processing, plating, heat treating, things of that nature. But we are all made in the USA, and for the most part, all manufactured here in New York State, and in this region, and more particularly in this county. So excited about that. This is an example of a defense. This is an Apache helicopter. We have a tooth brake on the ammunition feed system. The Apache helicopter, our customer is Boeing, and we do lots of work with Boeing, mostly indirectly through some of the tier 2 suppliers like a Moog or an Accutronic or a Parker Aerospace that eventually gets rolled up into a Boeing or a Lockheed Martin or a Northrop Grumman. You know, we love all our customers, the Boeings, the Lockheeds, the you know, Honeywells, kind of the crowded lobbies. They're sometimes they're very bureaucratic, so it's kind of nice to work with, you know, a Parker Aerospace, a Moog up in Buffalo, Accutronic, Montevideo, companies like that that kind of have the less crowded lobbies that shield us from some of the nonsense that typically we'll have to deal with or mitigate. Well, this is the A400. It's a European military transport vehicle. We make a fail-safe brake that's used. It's actually a holding brake application in the nose cone of this aircraft. This is a Airbus right here. All right, as Tom mentioned, May 31st this last month was a big day for us. Our customer is Honeywell, and we worked on the docking station in 2012, 2013, and designed, tested, did more testing, qualified, tested, and delivered a number of brakes for the NASA's docking station through our customer Honeywell. It was a very technically challenging program on a number of levels, but it was really awesome here in May to see SpaceX sort of port up to the docking station and see kind of our slow exhale of seeing nothing fail up there on that day. So we're really proud of that. And we're in a kind of a slow burn development cycle. So it takes 2 to 10 years from prototype to the first production run. So it takes a while to really spin up. We've been committed to that for a long time, but we're starting to see, I think now, sort of the meter starting to move on our business. We've got our first, believe it or not, production order, a reorder from the initial prototypes that we saw on May 31st. Just last month. So that would be 7 or 8 years later, the first bona fide production order came from Honeywell. So it just kind of illustrates that it's a slow burn, that there's a long development cycle, that, you know, we spend a lot of time, you know, kind of problem solving on the front end, collaborating with our customers, engineer to engineer, kind of iterating back and forth on design, delivering prototypes, doing lots and lots of testing back and forth. Hopefully we get our customer wins and production happens, but by the time we ship, we get the initial inquiry till the time that we get the first production order, it's 2 to 10 years. So it definitely is a unique and interesting business in that respect, right? That it's very difficult to displace a competitor, but it's really hard to get displaced. It takes a long time though to get spun up into production, and we're growing on a lot of fronts. So we're starting, I think, see a lot of the fruits of our labors over the last, you know, I've owned the company for 13 years, but the last 5 really put a lot of investment into the front end of our engineering and, you know, sales engineering, applications engineering, design engineering, and all of those functions that are required to help spin up a lot of projects. And those projects are prototypes in NRE that ultimately, like I said, become hopefully production runners down the line. All right. So we have another clutch and brake company that we acquired 3.5, 4 years ago, called Placid Industries. It was in Lake Placid. They specialize in mag particle clutches and brakes and hysteresis clutches and brakes, and we're really excited about this little business. We don't do custom. We have our own standard models. We have 26 standard models. Last year we shipped 154 configurations of those 26 standard models. We have 12 employees in that business. Really excited about that business. It's a small, tight, easy to manage and operate and growing business that, you know, again, we had a 15% revenue growth last year, and we were on pace at 22% revenue growth year over year. And then COVID hit and it kind of set us back a little bit, but I'm really excited about, you know, where we're going with that business. There's a shot of the shop. We moved this business here from Lake Placid to Elmira, and we remodeled part of the facility where they're located, and that gives a bit of a look into what that facility's about. We're in a number of different mostly tensioning and testing applications, but some military applications. I think we shipped to 684 customers last year. And so it's a highly transactional type of business as opposed to CPAC, which is more program related. There's more, which means that the average invoice that we're shipping is about $3,000 at Placid, where it's about $80,000 at CPAC. So it's more transactional, and it's turning over because we're a made to stock, not a made to order business, and it's a standard product that we're shipping. So it's kind of an interesting diversification of our business model. All right, so the other part is our machining group. We have IDM here in Elmira. It's a small CNC machining shop in our facility, but we've also in the last 18 months acquired 3 companies in Syracuse that we are super excited about. It's Scientific Tool, which does, I'll spin through the slides and tell you what each one does one by one, but we have 3 companies that we're rolling up and sort of scaling in Syracuse and kind of leveraging 2 rock star managers that I've recruited and found that are kind of engineering but driven, kind of really personable guys that are managers of those businesses, those 3 businesses up there. And it's a great tool room type of problem solving, engineering technician type guys that are in the shops up there that I couldn't be more bullish or excited about what we're doing in Syracuse. But that's a relatively new sort of expansion for us. We have 54 employees in Syracuse now within our companies. So we're kind of growing geographically too, which is really new for us. Like I said, IDM's here in Elmira, small CNC machining, turning, milling, and injection molding. Serves a lot of customers around here that part of our machining group is foam specialties. We work with some big medical companies on some simulated organs that surgeons and teaching hospitals use to sort of develop and practice and train on suturing equipment. And so that's sort of a small little business of ours, but exciting one too. But our Syracuse operation is here. SciTool, HC Young, and Lakeside. SciTool really is specialized sort of high volume bar fed turning. Stainless is our thing. We're really good at machining and really 304 and 316 stainless. That's sort of its own art. I would say we're the premier machine shop for turning in stainless. If you were gonna needed turned stainless machinings, more specifically 304 and 316, we are the go-to shop for that. We do that very well, and so we're kind of playing to what's in our wheelhouse and try not to do things that we don't do very well. And so that's what SciTool does, run by Houston Morris, who's a great strong manager, as I was mentioning before. We've got we do some milling there, but mostly it's turning. HC Young is an interesting little tool room. We moved that into it's in Syracuse. We moved it, we acquired it and moved it into the facility where SciTool is here last week. They specialize in kind of onesie-twosie type jobs. So whereas SciTool is more production related, this is more of a onesie-twosie kind of tool room type shop. Why that's important for us strategically is that we turned away something like 45 RFQs for those types of orders at SciTool, and we felt like it was sort of dangerous. You can't let a $1,000 or $2,000 order get in the way of a $10,000 or a $20,000 order, right? So that was sort of the conundrum that we were facing. And so by bringing this sort of tool in the toolbox or the toolkit, so to speak, into our facility, it allowed us to capture a lot of smaller RFQs that we're turning away, not let someone else get between us and our customer, and then grow with them. And then as it got to a certain size, then we can pivot the bigger volume jobs that come and derive from that into side tool. So that's a relatively new development, and we have a number of tool room capabilities there. Lakeside is an awesome little company, also in Syracuse. They do production level CNC milling, really like high speed RPM, robo drill type of, really high feeds and speeds where they're producing really quickly as far as the cycle times and the setups go. They only do aluminum. They don't do any stainless steel. They don't do any other materials. They do only milling. They don't do any turning. So they each have their own little niche, and we try to keep the business that makes sense within the wheelhouse of the capabilities of that business. And we're starting to cross-sell and cross-feed, so we get lots of opportunities from other companies around New York State, and we try to funnel them into the capabilities of that particular facility and play to our strengths. We do a lot of defense work, a lot of aerospace work, and we have a lot of capabilities within each, like I said, in each of those individual facilities that can support not only the growth of what they're doing, but also support us internally for our own internal capabilities that we want to have more control over, right, that we own. So it gets us a little bit more vertical integration at CPAC in particular, also at Placid, where we need that, we need that support. But they're all three of them are growing respectively in their own right, particularly Lakeside. It's a massive growth curve, which is exciting. So some pictures and shots of Lakeside. Like I said, a lot of defense. Some of those parts are actually some archery for Copper John, which is a big manufacturer of archery equipment that I can see there. All right. Our rescue business and Rescue Jack, we design and build rescue tools that are used by fire departments in motor vehicle accidents. So obviously biased, but we're the category killer of rescue tools that stabilize and lift things in this country. So we have our channel distribution. We have 130 dealers throughout North America, and now probably another 25 internationally. And we sell to fire departments and agencies, all over this country and all over the world through our dealer network. And those dealers are also, they may have like if you've heard of like a Hearst Jaws Life, they may have like a extrication tool line that they represent, as well as our stabilization and lifting tools. So we're a very strong brand, well-recognized brand in rescue, and motor vehicle accidents is kind of like what we're really good at. We also kind of dabble around in structural collapse and trench rescue, confined space, kind of technical rescue operations, but MVAs are a big part of our business. Motor vehicle accident happens every, I think it's like 7 or 8 seconds in this country, and we are the industry leader in lifting things and stabilizing things and prepping them for extrication, or cutting cars apart and extracting patients and getting them to the hospital in that kind of golden hour, right? That's critical to the patient's survival and also their kind of quality of life post-accident. So our tools facilitate that in a safe manner, but also proficiently, quickly allow for the first responders, rescue technicians to extract the victim and get them to care. So these are some of our tools. We've got 8 product lines. This kind of shows some of the applications that we're in. We've actually done a lot of innovation. We've rolled out a new product line called our Alpha Drive system that CPAC actually helped develop for us. It's an actuator that lifts not just, we lift typically with a mechanical jack. This is an actuator that lifts automatically, which you're looking at with a 18-volt battery and a DC brushless motor, and it's it's pretty exciting. We just got a patent. We received our patent on it a few months ago and rolled it out into the market. And then COVID hit, so we're kind of in a holding pattern. But we're excited to take that to market here in the years to come. Our construction group is our final group of the 4 groups that we have here. You're really looking at kind of our SEPCO is our construction tools, our bow wrench construction tool, and then BES is another company in Binghamton we acquired a few years ago to kind of to scale up our construction group a little bit more, but does sort of fishes wire for electrical contractors and do-it-yourselfers and in the cable company guys and electricians and people of that nature that are that need the tools to help facilitate that. Our bow wrench is probably we have several versions of this, but we sold, I believe, 12,000 of those last year through Amazon, through Home Depot, through Lowe's, through 500 kind of lumber store type places like a do-it-center type place, right? It's a interesting little product for us. And BES, again, these are some of our products that are used, drill bits and installation tools that electricians and contractors use to fish wire out of walls and install wire and cable and do all kinds of things in their markets. So finally, this is a list of our customers. This is mostly, I guess, along the lines of our motion control group with our with CPAC and Placid, but these are some of the customers that we work with and you probably would recognize. And guess that is the extent of my presentation.
Excellent. If you want to ask a question, you need to press your space bar. I have a few myself, but we'll let others go first.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. This is really amazing. I knew you had a few companies here. You used to, I think you bought Ward at one time. Is that one of those businesses now, or is that not something you're doing now?
Yeah, it was my first deal. So that was like 22 years ago, right? Henry Kaiser was a great guy. He was the president of American LaFrance in the Heights and Ward LaFrance, and then he started a company called Ward 79, and then that went bankrupt, and then he developed a company called Ward Diesel Filter Systems, which was a great little, it was in the fire service, and I acquired that and then ran and operated that for 14 years. I sold it 7 years ago, but it was a great company and a great run, and kind of cut my teeth in fire rescue and that first acquisition, that first business. I remember that first business. That was a big deal at the time, right? Kind of trying to be first generation businessman, trying to be, you're 28 years old and you just didn't have an option B. All you want to do is own your own small business, and I had the greatest father that you could ever have, but he didn't own a company, right? So I didn't have a clear path. I had to go find one, and the process of having to go through that, it took several years to find Ward Diesel, to find Henry, found the deal, but just to convince a banker to give you a loan and to beg, borrow, and steal. That first deal, I think back on that was quite an experience and a great company, and I sold it to Scott Beecher, owns that now. It's here locally still, but it was a great run, and I wasn't in the direction of where I was going. It's more of an installation based company and not a manufacturer, and honestly I was kind of getting a little burnout on the business. It's sort of, I had run my course, and as you can see, I've got enough to do. So,
For sure.
Hey, John. First of all, I want to say thank you. My 3-year-old daughter is going to be thrilled to know that I met the guy that invented Wall-E.
It did what?
That invented Wall-E. I don't know if you've seen that movie. The Walt Disney movie about a little robot, but one of your slides, the character reminded me of it. So she'll be thrilled to know that I met the guy who invented Wally. My question is, being so well diversified as far as product line and geography, you'd mentioned that company culture is really important. What are some of the proactive measures that you've taken, like when you acquire a company, to make sure that everything is weaved together and everything just kind of goes together with your company culture?
You know, what are the steps that I'm taking?
Yeah, what does your process look like to integrate your various companies into your culture?
Got it. Yeah, so, you know, it's really great question. So, you know, I think, you know, we have each of our little business units has their own culture, so to speak, right? It's got its own character and culture to it. And I think now that most of everything we do in Elmira, we're under one roof, even though we're sort of under one roof, we're in different markets, and we serve different customers, and we are very different types of businesses with different kind of character and complexion, right, to the business. Some are more engineering driven and others are more branded and maybe marketing driven, which to me, it makes things very interesting and fun. But there's different types of people, very different types of people that we have here. And so, you know, I think, you know, we started our all in, all out program with our motion control group and with IDM, our machine shop here, but we haven't taken that through to Rescue Jack and BES Sepco to the other side of the building here. And I think that's definitely on my sort of bucket list of things to do, right? You know, we've been running with all in, all out here for all of 2 years. And I think it's been kind of transformational, right, in the culture of the business, where I want a small, tight group of people that are all in and all out. And so I'm like a really strong guardian of that culture and of the recruitment process. And people don't get hired here unless I look them in the eye, no matter where they are. So that kind of vetting is sort of there, but it's also, that's just one part of it. The other part of it is once they're here, how do we onboard them? How do we really, how do we skill them up? How do we train them up? How do we like get them fired up to like really, really come in and give 100% every day and week, right? So, and then how do we get our managers sort of, as we're getting bigger, right, talking really kind of, that's what all in, all out is about. It's about getting our middle managers, right? Our engineering manager, our sales manager, quality manager, finance manager, project manager, right? Other production managers, right? Getting and talking to their people that are on the front lines. And so that's, I guess, probably the most important thing of all in, all out is the recognition when sharing the gratitude, making sure we're patting people on the back, making sure we're communicating. And it turns out that it can become contagious, right? So if one person does it, right, then, you know, if Charlie's recognized, then gosh, Dan's going to see what Charlie's doing, and then Charlie's going to do 3, 4 more other things, and they're going to be better positioned. Charlie, who's super smart lathe operator and knows what he knows really, really well, he actually is going to find a lot more areas to optimize his work cell than I'm ever going to find, right? Or his boss is ever going to find. So how do we create an environment where he is recognized for that, right? And that it becomes contagious, so he does it again and over again, right? And it's sort of that circle of life, I guess what I would call, right, a circle of life of workforce engagement, which is like recruitment and training and recognizing and rewarding and then kind of repeating back to recruiting, right? So it's just a circle. I call it kind of like a circle of life. And I think sometimes we needed to get more into this. I've always been a big believer in getting the right people on the bus. And, you know, if you get the right person on the bus, just could be multiple seats for them on the bus, but that's not good enough, right? We have to continually train them, recognize, and it's an evolving process. It's people, right? And I think sometimes in manufacturing, we're not so good at recognizing people, right? Or we're kind of more right brain than left brain, right? If you know what I'm saying. So it's that communication and the talking that needs to happen, because it builds the culture and their loyalty and and so it's like loyalty and competence. Competence and loyalty are two unbelievable. When you have employees that have loyalty and competence, right, that's gold, right? And so it's building the competence and it's building the loyalty. It's the high skill and the high will, right? The high skill of getting trained up and skilled up, in the high will of, yes, I can. So it's loyalty and competence. And I think that needs to spread, and it needs to, I'm pretty passionate about that. Probably jumping into the Zoom screen here a little bit talking about this, but I'm excited about this. It's the direction of our company. It's not a flavor of the month. As long as I'm here, which is hopefully a long time, I'm going to be championing this within our business and taking it to all corners of our building and up into Syracuse as well. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's my best response.
Actually, I want to piggyback onto that a little bit. When you tend to upskill people, what is your retention? And with all this COVID stuff, have you lost employees? Are you having a hard time filling needed hiring gaps?
Well, that's really good questions. We're really, knock on wood, really blessed, right? We don't have a lot of turnover in our businesses. We are, we pay our people well. The benefits are great, I think, here. Retention's a big part of what we do. I know that retention's a lot better too in the years since we've introduced all in, all out. But when you have 125 people, right, something's going to be happening somewhere, right? So very few people are making less than $15 an hour, right? Maybe college interns, sorry, Mary. And some people, in the shop, right, in the lower skilled areas, maybe at BES, right, that might be in that. But most of our guys on the floor are making, like I said, between 20 and 30 bucks an hour. And I think we've consistently, addressed their, as they've grown their skills, they've gotten recognized or rewarded with more dollars, right? But and we recognize them as well. So I don't think I'm proud of our retention. I'm very always that guy who's like I'm like always looking for that right engineer, that next accounting person. Like I'm feeding my network and I'm really into that myself personally. We have an HR manager who does all the work, but I'm kind of like always looking to do that. And we definitely brought in, I can tell you in the last several months, I've hired 7 people probably, right, in some key positions just from a growth standpoint. And we've hired some great, there's a lot of churn going on in the market right now, I think. So I think, on all levels, I think it's opportunity, right? And so I think sometimes, being a smaller company, you can pick up that gem, right? You can pick up that diamond in the rough. And that's what I'm always looking for. And that's what we're always looking for. We're not just looking for anybody. We're looking for the right person. And it may be the wrong time, but I'm going to invest in the right person at the wrong time. Whereas like Corning, right? I'm not knocking Corning, but we just hired someone from there, and one of their executives called me and said, she's awesome, but she was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And for me, right, I can't believe that a company would let a great person go because they're at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, we want to protect our best people, right? So, but it's an opportunity for me when a big company kind of does that for me to kind of swoop in, like, and sort of dance around these big lumbering giants who sort of go through these cyclical sort of issues, right, that they have. So I don't know if that
no, that was cool.
Any insight or explanation.
Joe, go.
Hey, John, I saw in your picture, your factory, you had lots of stuff on the roof for generating electricity. And I was wondering what percentage do you generate on your own, and what kind of carbon footprint are you looking at for your industry? Yeah,
so we have, I think, 1,262 solar panels on our roof of our building. We installed that based on, there's a lot of, the only reason why it really makes economic sense is because the government is invested in it. So for us, it's a 6.5-year ROI. But the federal government gives you, I think it's a 28% federal tax credit, and the state gives a 18% New York State rebate on it, right? So it's really, it would be a 13-year essentially ROI, but the way the economics work, and I'll just give you a real, the way that I'm probably not smart enough to explain this, but we spend about $120,000 with NYSEG here in the building, and we get between a $43,000 and a $45,000 credit on our bill, right, every year. So, and like I said, that will be in 6.5 years, we'll have that paid off, right? But the cool thing that makes it even better is that you want to make sure your roof, you want a 25-year system on a roof that's 2 years old, like it has 2 years more of life. So we put a new roof on our building, which made the price, it became a $1.2 million project all of a sudden. But if you do that, then the roof can be, can also fall into all the credits and the rebates and stuff through the feds and the state. So it kind of made sense. If you're in it for the long haul, like I hope that I am, that it's a 25-year roof now and a 25-year system. So, in 6.5 years, I can get it paid off. And that was kind of the impetus behind it. It was more we're going to go green and it's all good for the environment. But there was it kind of made sense for me, doing what I'm doing here to make that investment. And the incentives are kind of beginning to sunset. So if you're going to do it, you really had to do it a couple of years ago. So they're already starting to pull those incentives out now. So we just got in right at the tail end of, the maximum incentives that they were providing.
Nice. Any other questions? I have one final one. I noticed you had a picture of a guitar and Diodario. So do you do guitar strings for them?
Yeah, no, we do. So they're one of the big guitar manufacturers on Long Island, right? So Placid Industries, you know how the guitar strings are got to be tensioned when they're installed. Well, we at Placid do mag particle brakes and clutches, which is the slowest moving torque, right? Smooth, low running torque. That's kind of the hallmark of a mag particle brake, and it's particularly what Placid does, the best performing, smoothest, lowest running torque. And that's what's needed to tension the guitar string in the guitar. And that's, our brakes are in their equipment that
makes the guitar strings.
Their guitars.
Got it. That's pretty sweet. Thank you.
John, thank you very much. It's, it's wonderful to see this kind of industry in Elmira and see the growth and the high-tech route you're going. It's really great. So thank you for what you do for our community and for everybody. It's wonderful.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Thanks,
interest,
John.
everyone.
Okay, great.
Thanks, John.
You can stick around, John, for the end of the meeting if you're interested.
Yeah, we're almost done. You're welcome to stick around. Whatever you need to do is fine.
Great.
Next week, our speaker is Dave Clark. Tom, do you want to say a little bit about what?
Dave Clark is a very interesting man. He is a polio survivor, of which Rotary is dedicated to eradicating, but he's also never let that hold him back. He actually pitched on a professional baseball team with crutches, the only one to do that. He's written a couple books out there, Wagons, and he's all about getting people to go past their limitations. And he does a D3 camp, a disability camp, and gets all these disabled kids doing baseball with professional baseball players. He is a huge facilitator, and I love hearing his stories.
Great. I thought it was going to be the same person. I played hockey with him. He was the goalie when I played hockey in an amateur league and back in the 70s and 80s. He's not a young man. He's still out there doing it. Very dynamic speaker. And yeah, glad to hear that it's the same one. I thought that. Thank you, Tom. Anyone got any other announcements or anything they want to add to the meeting today?
I'll just add with the online, if you wanted to pay with a credit card for your dues, I did it just to test it out, and it's really pretty simple. It actually sends you a email that you just click on the link and you put in your credit card information. It's all through the Square app, so it's all very well known and safe. So if anyone wants me to send them an invoice, I can. And then you just have to follow the link and put your credit card information in.
Okay, thank you. As long as you got the floor, Carl, you want to do 50-50?
Sure. So we had an extra $1 or $2 collected this week because Naeem joined the Zoom 50-50. So there was $46 collected. 23 goes towards the pot, and then there was a rollover of $44. So the winner today, if there's a winner, will get $67. And I took out Jody Ann's popsicle stick because she resigned from the club for the year. So as people resign, I'll take out their sticks. And I picked Carol Lincoln.
Woohoo!
Well, I know
Carol.
she's here.
She is.
And I know
Unmute,
she's
Carol.
paid.
Unmute, Carol. Carol, you muted.
Just hit
Still
the
muted.
space bar, Carol.
Hit your space bar. Hold your space bar down. Oh no, we lost Carol. Oh, there she is.
There she is. No, she just moved.
Yeah, she's moving around. You're still muted, Carol. We can see I'm not a lip reader, but I think she's very happy.
I would assume, yeah.
Great, congratulations. So we've only got one more week in July, and most of us paid to the 50-50 through the end of July.
Yep.
So next week, maybe we can talk about what we need to do to move forward with the 50-50 as far as paying up for those of us who haven't rolled over winnings or whatever.
Sounds good. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. Is next week would be most people are paid up to that point.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you, Carl. Thank you all for coming. That was a very interesting meeting today. I've always wondered what they did down there. And I wonder if they're going to outgrow. One of the things I wanted to ask them, but we kind of ran out of time, was, are they going to outgrow Divin Plaza? I mean, he's taking over that business the way he's buying companies.
I was floored. I had no idea everything they did. Just a couple, not a dozen.
Yeah, well, he bought up a bunch of little companies. That's how he started originally, like 5 small companies, and made it into what he is today. It's pretty incredible. Anyway,
He's also the owner of Greek Peak.
Yeah. Does anyone know him really well? We should invite him or his company as a Rotarian, because we have the business level too. So who knows him the best? All right, I'll do it.
I met him once, maybe 7 or 8 years ago at a golf tournament for the chamber. I think that's it. So.
Okay, I'll reach out.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you all for coming today. See you next week, and have a good week. And remember, Rotary opens opportunities. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dick.
Yep.
Thanks,
Hey, Tom,
everybody.
Have a
Bye.
good
the
week.
address.
Oh, yeah. I'll text it to you, Joe. Hold on. I'll get it to you, sir.